3, 2, 1. Denise Miguel.
But people know me better as Belleza Tarasca.
And then Catrin El Monstro.
How are you guys doing?
We're good. We're good. Thank you.
Thanks for coming out and doing the podcast. I really appreciate it. And probably one of the best YouTube videos I'm ever going to have.
Thank you. Well, it's an honor to be a part of this, and thank you for having us.
Yeah, this is completely awesome. So how did this get started?
A lot of people have seen us and they know that we do this as a couple, but we always get so are you guys friends? Are you guys related? They actually don't know that we're married. We have been married for almost 8 years. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. When we met, very quickly we realized that not only are we Mexican American, but our families come from the same state of Michoacan in Mexico. We're firstborn generation here. So we had a lot of similarities that we really connected. And one of them was the lack of traditions that our parents were passing down to us. And I lived in Mexico for 3 years. So one of the most memorable things that really stuck to me was Day of the Dead. My grandmother is from Pátzcuaro, Michoacan, which is one of the places that celebrates this to its fullest. And I would tell him, this is one of the traditions that I remember the most. And we just it's always been a part of me, but I never had found somebody that I could share my life with and they could understand all these little things. So when we started connecting with all of this, it became a passion. It really did. We started talking about it. We started incorporating it to our daily life with our daughters. He'll talk about it more, but for him, it hits on a personal level, even deeper than any of this. For me, it's really been a passion. I've always been very crafty, artistic. So this allowed me to put all that craftiness and passion and love for creating into good use, basically. Not only is it creating beautiful things, but also keeping that tradition. And it's truly become a tradition. Our house looks like you walked into a little town in Mexico. We have all types of skulls everywhere.
That's cool.
Very colorful. And it's been a beautiful thing that has also brought us closer together as a married couple. So, I'm sure he has more to say.
Yeah, definitely. It's been an amazing journey so far. But can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right.
For the most part.
Yeah, for me, it's I could get a little bit more deeper, at a personal level, just because of my dad passing almost 11 years ago. For me, it's just been such a just difficult dealing with my dad's passing, that through the Day of the Dead and through everything that we do. It has helped me. The healing process has been a lot smoother now, So we just enjoy doing this, and yeah, I don't want to get too emotional yet, but we enjoy it, and it's always been a huge passion of ours, and here we are.
So how long have you guys been doing this art for?
This to this level, maybe 2 years.
Oh,
I would say
okay.
about 2 years. It really started with me just playing around with makeup and taking it to that level.
You're a
I'm
makeup
a
artist.
makeup artist,
right?
yes. So I do traditional makeup. I do airbrush Day of the Dead makeup. When I started, it was just playing around with the traditional makeup, creating these looks. It evolved, into what you see now. There's other looks that are more complex. And it just became that. We had a photographer reach out. He's known as Gus Mejia. He's like the Catrina photographer. And he's like, let's do a shoot. And as soon as we were going to do that, COVID hit.
Oh man.
And then it just kind of messed everything up. We were like, what do we do now?
Right.
And funny story is that my very first Catrina picture that I had was not only by him, but it was through Zoom, which was different and interesting, you know? Pictures looked
A
amazing.
lot different, you know.
Very different. And it just
So he
went
took
from
pictures
there.
of you through Zoom?
Through Zoom,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
He worked
Oh.
his magic. Yeah, it was through
What?
Zoom.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He worked his magic.
Do you
The
have those
came out
pictures
amazing.
of
Yeah,
your-
I want to see them.
Yes, they're on my
On your
profile.
Okay.
profile? Let's see.
They're pretty, I think, pretty deep into the profile.
It's on yours, right?
Yes.
So we'll
You're
go
talking about maybe, well, this was like 2020, I think. So it's
2 years.
probably.
It feels like it was like last week. Every time I think of 2020, I'm like,
Right? Yeah, it feels like it was just
yeah.
maybe last year at the most.
Monstero, if you need to take off your mask, just
Yeah.
you let me know, and we could
Yeah,
you
I
go
think
ahead.
take it off.
I'm gonna remove it.
Okay.
You're
Go
gonna see
for
my
it.
face.
Yeah, it's still quite a long ways to go.
Yeah.
Show more. Okay.
And it was funny because my husband was there and he was helping me. And I'm like, oh, can you hand me over this crown and, you know, these accessories? Because we did a few different looks. And then Gus says, you know, why don't you just jump in the picture?
You could put it. You want to put it down? Set it right there.
So we ended up not only doing my first picture, but also our very first picture as a couple.
That's
and
awesome.
that turned out to be like our favorite picture of that shoot. And the idea just kind of evolved from there. We have a very special connection as a couple, and we tend to do a lot of things together. Like when we say we found our best friend, like I truly feel like that's exactly what happened. So even just doing this, there's nobody else I would rather share this with. Like he's my comfort zone, and I mean he says the same thing. So we really enjoy just doing this as a couple, and we're like brainstorming. Even like on the way here, we're like, hey, you know what would be cool? Like these colors. Oh, that would be cool. And that would be cool if you did this and that. And we just kind of, our everyday talks are about creating something. And it's really interesting. It's really nice to have somebody, I'm sure you guys, you know, kind of.
Yeah, we can relate to that.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can relate. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Amber has all the brainstorming ideas, and she usually presents them to me in an unorthodox way, and I make it happen. That's our dynamic.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, and yes, I'm sure you guys understand. It's like sometimes the best ideas come out of like the smallest thing, and they just evolve into just something amazing.
A lot of our ideas come from our long drives.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A long drives from LA back to back home, you know, a whole hour and a half, or every time we're on the road, that's when we really come up with concepts and ideas. And once we're alone.
Oh, sorry. That's the picture right there in the middle.
This one right
down.
here? Okay.
But where we're together.
Oh, right
So
here.
those 3 pictures are from Gus.
And these were all
Through
via-
Zoom.
Wow.
Yes.
All right.
So that was,
Wow.
I would say, my favorite out of what we
So
did.
were you guys like just in your house? And
Yes.
then what?
Okay,
we
so
just-
that's the Zoom one.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
It's really good.
Our very first.
And that was like our very first photo shoot. And that was the first time me doing like full blown Katrina look, doing the attire. Like it was just like the first of many, many things. And I was just hooked. Like we have to do this more often. We have to, because it was already part of what we lived and who we were.
Right.
And that just took it to a whole different level of like, this is something we have to keep on doing.
Yeah. It's awesome. So for some of our listeners that maybe don't know, like I know history and kind of behind like Dia de los Muertos, but for some of our listeners that maybe don't know, you know, really the tradition and how we celebrate it. I mean, can you guys kind of explain that a little bit?
And most people think that it's like, of course, it's around like Halloween, but some, you know, try to, I guess, celebrate Day of the Dead like around Halloween too, and it's not even right. Isn't it like a long fest? It's like a long festival, or it's multiple days.
So it
Or how-
starts, it progresses. So it
Okay.
starts like around the 28th of October.
Okay.
And there's basically steps of what is believed that our dear ones that have passed away. Like these are the stages that they go through in order to get to that final resting place. So on November 2nd, which is the main day of Dia de los Muertos, is the night from the 1st onto the 2nd that it is believed that their spirit comes to Earth to connect with their loved ones. So what traditionally happens is they would go to the cemetery and bring the cempasúchil, which is the flower of the dead. It's believed that it has a very strong, distinct smell. So it is believed that that smell is what allows them to find the place where they're supposed to come and meet their loved ones. Yeah, so if he has one of those, he tries to have one every time.
We have them at our home.
Oh, okay.
And this is from our house.
Is that a fresh one?
Yes, a fresh
Really?
one. Yes.
So I don't know if you want to smell it, just so you have an idea of what we're talking about.
Ooh, okay.
They're seasonal, so it's not the season right now, but
they're still going.
They're still going.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's seasons for these.
Yes.
And it's usually around that time.
Oh,
so
okay. So they're in bloom.
Yes, they're
around
full
that
bloom
time.
around
Wow.
that time. So they do the ofrendas, which is something anybody can do in their houses. Place their picture, put some of their favorite items. There are certain things like you put a glass of water, you put, their favorite foods, if they had a favorite drink, like anything that is really symbolic of who they were. In our house, personally, we have an ofrenda all year long.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we have the picture of his dad.
We have my dad. We have my grandpa and
my grandmother. My maternal grandmother, my paternal grandfather, and we truly have experienced certain things where we feel their spirit. We really feel like, this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for them. Like they're our guardian angels. They're around us, and
their presence is very, very strong, and we feel like they're always around us. You know what I mean? Especially my dad has a huge part in our little one. Certain things that we have experienced through our little one, through our baby. She's been a couple months.
Wow.
And she could barely move. And we say, "Hey, ¿dónde está Byron?" And she'll turn her head and look at the picture.
Oh, wow.
She was like a month old when this happened. And
really?
we flipped out. We're like, wait, did we just see this? Because we have a really big picture of him. Mm-hmm. And when we initially got married, we got married in Vegas and our most immediate family went and we took his picture with us. We're like, he's going to be at our wedding.
He's been everywhere, every special occasion. He's always with us.
Beautiful.
In spirit or our big picture frame,
Yeah.
He's always with us. And unfortunately, he wasn't able. That's the part that really still gets to me sometimes, that he wasn't able to be there for all my special moments, getting married and actually meeting my wife, and all my, my kids,
Yeah.
And that's the part that really still gets to me, But I know he's watching. I know he's always around in spirit and any kind of form. We know he's there. We're going to a grocery store and we're like, boom, Byro got us right in the front.
I've never experienced VIP parking until I met him. And even our girls now, they joke around and we find parking and they're like, thanks, Byron. Little things like that. Yeah. But something that, the reason why we say this is not just because we want to believe it. These are things that when we found out we were pregnant, his mom, the first thing she said was, oh, he always said that his first baby was going to be a girl. And I'm like, yeah, right. It's going to be a boy because I want a boy. And it turned out to be a girl. And then our ultrasound, our doctor couldn't make it. They moved the date and it fell on the anniversary of his passing.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
And then our
March
baby
15th.
shower. Yeah, March 15 was his anniversary. Our baby shower, we rented this little community hall. And they're like, we accidentally double booked you. We have to bump you till next week. And it fell on his birthday.
Wow.
So these are little
Yeah.
things that nonstop. And then when our little one was born, this thing happens where we're like, oh, where's Byron? We were joking around because we're like, oh, he said it was going to be a girl. He would have loved to meet, because he always said he wanted granddaughters. And our baby just kind of looked straight into that picture. And we're like, how does this even happen?
Yeah. How
the
would she
timing.
know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of little things that we truly feel like there are blessings from them.
Mhm.
That's a big part of just for us and for him, that every day there's a blessing somehow. And we're like, who else could this come from?
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I think that I know I've read before that like the Mexican culture, we're the culture that I don't want to say the word glorifies, but we have this thing where death isn't so scary for us, right? Because we connect with death.
Yeah.
Through this tradition, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
So this is something that I think is beautiful in the Mexican culture and with us, is that we always have like this type of solace, right? When someone passes, because we get to honor them this way. And I think
Yes.
it's beautiful.
Now, is it all Mexican, like all Mexican culture throughout Mexico, or is there a certain type of region that it's more prevalent?
I think there's certain regions that are definitely more prevalent, that just that you can trace it back to just, the whole town being part of, the
Right.
celebration. Definitely it's throughout Mexico.
Yeah.
I don't think there's one person that can't relate to this. And it's beautiful that this is now expanding to other cultures. And if you really look at it, every culture has some sort of tradition of its own, not like Mexico, but to where they honor their dead,
Especially, I've been seeing like in Europe too. You know,
I had
it's
seen that.
it's definitely expanding. It's not just in Mexico, but
Is it like recently expanding, or is it just being more like pushed into mainstream? Like everybody is now like knowledgeable of the culture.
So yeah, it feels like the last couple of years it's been more of a mainstream. But
I wonder why.
I think a lot of it has to do with the internet.
True.
Know? You see
Right.
things like, I would type, for example, my name, Belleza Tarasca. I typed that we're from Michoacan, so a lot of the narrative of Tarasco, it's very in a male form. There really isn't like any female form of it. So you rarely hear Tarasca. It's always Tarasco. So I would go on the internet.
And what is Tarasco?
So Tarasco, in Michoacan, where we're from, the indigenous people are the Purépechas. The Purépecha people were actually one of the few indigenous that were not conquered by the Aztecs. So they were strong enough to basically withhold. The Aztecs wanted this land, this region, because it's very rich in minerals like copper, silver, gold, So they were unable to defeat them. So a lot of the people say, the word Tarasco itself is wrong because it comes from the Europeans. It came from not being able to be conquered by the Europeans or by the Aztecs. So it is believed that the Europeans gave this name to the Purépecha people, but kind of like in an insult, saying, "Oh, you monsters." But at the same time, it was like, "You monsters because we can't defeat you."
Right.
So it was like an insult, but almost with a little bit of respect, or like, "Well, we can't defeat you, so whatever."
That's awesome.
Particularly, my name comes from, I was raised in the city of Morelia, which is the capital of Michoacan. And in the middle of the city, there's this beautiful fountain that it is 3 indigenous women holding a platter of fruit, fish, and it represents like abundance for the land, for the people, and it's called Las Tarascas. So that was the first time I heard the word Tarasco in a female form. And when I started doing this, I really wanted to represent like where I'm from, Morelia. And when I lived there, it's funny because the female, the statues, they're bare-breasted. So when I was little, I went to school nearby, and you drive by there and it's like, oh, don't look at the boobies, like it was kind of like a beautiful thing, but don't look at it because there's boobies.
Right.
And it kept on coming to mind, all these connections that I was having. My grandmother passed away about 20 years ago. And when I met my husband and we started talking about, that's the fountain right there. And it's beautiful.
Oh, that's
so it's like in the
beautiful.
middle of like the main avenue. And so traffic,
what are they holding up?
The platter it's like a platter, and it has fruit. So
Okay.
it's covered in it's covered in bronze, I believe, because the original colors were just being eaten up by just the environment, the sun, everything was being worn off, so they just covered them in bronze, sorry. So yeah, it has fruit, it has fish. There's a nearby lake in Pátzcuaro where it's known for fishing. So it just pretty much is like an offering for abundance, for the land, for the people.
That is magnificent.
So a lot of like the memories that I had, there's other festivals, like there's a festival del Torito where they create like a little bull and they dance it, and it became like every neighborhood of Morelia, they're known for something. So this neighborhood makes bread, this one makes shoes, this one makes, everybody had their own thing. Mm-hmm. And their torito is like, it's like creating a piñata, but you could put on this piñata and dance it. So,
whoa, really?
Yeah, like it's, so if you look it up, like Torito, Morelia, and then Festival del Torito, they get very creative. It's evolved now. So now you have like things like Pokemon on them. But before, they really represented like a torito, and you could tell it was the neighborhood of like people that made bread and people that made piñatas and people that made like, so everybody was like their pride of who they were as a neighborhood. And they all go down the main avenue till they get to the main plaza. And then they basically dance it off to see who the champion was going to be for the year.
Whoa.
So as you can tell, there's a lot of, that's it right there.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So they get super creative and all these little things. Like I would tell him, because he's from a very small town, so they don't really have like a lot of these little traditions.
So Michoacan is the state. So it's a state in Mexico.
Yes.
Okay.
And then Morelia, it's its capital.
Is the capital.
So he's from Michoacan, but he's from another extreme.
Okay.
From a very small town. So a lot of these things were like unknown to him.
Yeah, my parents are from La Magdalena, Michoacan. And my grandpa from one side, he was from La Esperanza. So, and that's on the opposite side of Michoacan.
Oh, okay. So it's on the opposite side of Morelia?
Yes. So it's basically like we're in extremes of the state.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Closer,
So
we're closer to we're closer to Guadalajara, La Barca, on that side.
Can you pull up a map of Michoacan for me, please?
Yeah. Let's give you a perspective.
Give me a perspective, and 'cause I don't even I'm trying to follow to where like geographically where Michoacan is in Mexico. Okay, so it's in the middle coastal area. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
around here.
Okay. And then the second.
So my parents are from this side.
Okay.
So Morelia's here,
I see that.
and then you said you're where was that? So are you going down?
Oh, by Los Reyes.
Oh, over here. That's right, by Jalisco.
Yeah, by Jalisco.
Oh, got it. Up here. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
We're,
it's,
we're in
it's
that,
quite
in
a
that
ways.
region.
Yeah.
it is.
Okay.
Got it.
So a lot of these things were known to him. So when we started sharing, where he was from, where I was from, he was fascinated. We've been there a few times since
And
we've
I'm
been
still
married.
fascinated.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff that we're still learning. And to me, it's just captivating. And there's no other way to put it. It's just you're more. I want to know more. I want to know more.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're not. Mexico is just. It's not just tacos and tequila.
Yeah.
No.
It's, and those things are great, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
But it's
Absolutely.
there's-
Amazing.
You're like here. but we're so much more, and that's something that I've been with Gill, that I've been like kind of teaching him, I guess, or explaining to him, is that like every region, every state contributes something,
Absolutely.
and so different traditions. I mean, we're all the same, but every place is different. It's completely different because
It blows my mind.
Yes.
It's blowing my mind right now. Like,
Yeah, every state's different. And the most amazing thing, everybody has their own traditions too, and
Right.
and it's like I said, it's just been an amazing ride this far, you know, and there's so much more that we're still exploring.
I can only imagine too, because like you're celebrating like the tradition like in your everyday life. Yes. Like I
Definitely.
It sounds like you enjoy it, and you're going full force on your tradition and the history of your parents and your grandparents. Yes. and obviously your country too, like, and the state of your country. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you see Day of the Dead, and you see us, and you're like, okay, Day of the Dead. But for us, it's really just so much more. I mean, everybody has their connection of why they celebrate this, why they're doing it. But on our part, it's truly a connection of where we come from, who we are.
Yeah.
And more than anything, one of the biggest things that we found when we met was the fact that it was a little hard to identify like who we were. For example, in my family, I would listen to hip hop. Oh, don't listen to hip hop. You're Mexican. You're not supposed to listen to rap and hip hop and all these gangster rappers. And I'm like, okay, but what is being Mexican? Because all I know is tamales and tacos. But really, as my family, they didn't really have any traditions that we were really connecting with. So it was like, to a certain point, it was confusing. Because I'm like, okay, so who am I supposed to be other than not doing the things that I'm being exposed to because I'm in the U.S.? So he had a little bit of that. He had more connection because his family, both sides are huge, and they're very connected still to where they're from. And I'm like, that's beautiful you had that. I didn't have that. But even within that, we're like, our elderlies are leaving. And there's just so much, that we don't know of where we come from. Our girls are second generation born here. So when I go back and I, at this point, you were kind of raised on not questioning certain things. But then it's like, how are we supposed to know, like, who our ancestors were or what kind of illnesses are passed down through the family? So one day I'm talking to my grandma, and she's like, Mija, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't even know my mom's birthday because I wasn't allowed to ask her anything. She was very controlling. She was very, to a certain extent, abusive emotionally. So they weren't allowed to ask anything. So we made it like our mission to really dig into our families.
And when did that start? When did you start like questioning, or not even questioning, but when did you start trying to figure out like who your ancestors were and how to get connected to your ancestors?
It really began, we have a 16-year-old and a 6-year-old. So it really began when our 6-year-old was born, because then it's like, what are you going to expose your kids to? What are you going to teach them? By this point, we had these conversations of like, we really don't have traditions, other than food. Food is such a big, bringing families together. But Absolutely. Other than that, what else do we have? And those conversations had already been into place. So like they say, the gusanito was already there. Like, the itch was already there. And when our little one was born, it really put it into perspective. Like, what are we going to teach them now? What are we going to leave them? How are they going to connect to being Mexican American? They're going to be exposed to the American side, but the Mexican side is really hard because the elders are they're older, they're leaving, and so much information hasn't been passed down that we have really been connecting and digging and asking questions that even our parents wouldn't dare to ask their parents. You know?
And I think the main reason my parents came here at a young age, that all they knew was just work.
They came to work.
They came to work, and my mom came she's 13, 14, and she's the oldest, and she had to take care of all the brothers, sisters, cousins. My other aunt, she had 14 kids, so as being the oldest, they had to take the responsibility of babysitting and taking care of them, because my grandpas and my uncles are always working, and my grandmas, everybody worked, and I think that's why they came here at a young age to work, and that's why all these traditions, you know, is very hard, you know, for them to teach us a lot because they came here at a young age.
Yeah.
I mean, traditions were probably like the last thing on their mind at the
Right.
time.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
And
Coming to a new
Exactly.
country,
A whole different world.
whole
you know?
whole
Yeah.
different world, trying to work, and like you said, traditions or holding traditions were probably, you know, one of the last things that, I mean, of course they probably thought about it, but you know, I guess working was the main.
yeah.
It was working.
Objective.
Yeah, it was working in survival mode. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? For a lot of our families, is survival mode, and thankfully, my grandpa Gilberto, he had a house in TJ, so everybody that came from Michoacan, one way or another, they landed at my grandpa's house.
Wow.
And from there, you know, that's when everybody made their transition over here, you know, al norte. So, so yeah,
That's
definitely. I come from a hardworking family, and till this day, you know, I'm very proud to say that that's one of my one of the things that I know. Wow, it's, you know, strong work ethic, you know, and I mean, as you guys can see too, through everything that we do, you know, I just don't have one job. I have
Multiple.
multiple.
Yeah.
So just hustle, you know what I mean, and try to do it the right way and provide for the family. That's how we were raised, you know.
Mhm.
So thankfully, being here in the United States, it's for us being first generation. We have so many outlets and so many opportunities, and you know, we gotta do it one way or another, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I also
definitely.
think that, like, going back on what you were saying about, you know, your parents getting here and coming here and not really adopting, like, or showing you guys, or even myself, because I'm first generation here as well, showing us tradition, right? But I also think that a lot of our grandparents or parents that came within the time where they like migrated was like mostly like 60s, 70s, you know, that time. And in that time period, you know, you needed to assimilate to the American way. You needed to leave behind
Yeah.
who you were in Mexico because you were coming to a new country and you were going to be as American as possible. And, you know, we've seen it throughout history where don't speak Spanish. And, you know, a lot of
Yeah.
people were reprimanded for speaking Spanish out on the street, out at school.
Were they really?
Yeah, absolutely.
definitely.
Wow.
Definitely. I mean, teachers back then, I remember my dad even saying, my parents got here.
Didn't they have like assimilation schools or
They
like
did. Yeah, they did.
something
they,
like
they
that,
definitely
right?
did. And
I know they had them for the natives in that were Native American, but they also had them for people
for Mexican,
all
They
around.
had
too.
what is it called? Lemon Grove, something lemon in San Diego, where that's exactly what they try to do. It's like all the Mexican kids from Mexican communities. It was literally a farm, and they're like, oh, that's gonna be your school because you're not allowed to go to school with us. And there they try to like reform everything that they knew. It's like you cannot speak Spanish, you cannot talk about this, you cannot talk about
Yeah.
that, and you're talking about, I want to say maybe like the 50s or 60s.
When was
like,
this? Can we pull that up,
Yeah,
Amber?
of course.
It's
I'll look.
lemon.
Okay.
Oh my God, I can't.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was in I believe San Diego or San Isidro, something like that.
Cheers, by the way.
San Diego right here.
Oh, cheers, cheers. We forgot to say
Cheers.
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 Oh no, Lemon Grove.
Salud.
See, there's the actual town. So that was the town that it was. Yeah, but I mean, I think that that's why too a lot of the things for us here, it just wasn't shown because they wanted to make the next generation over as American as possible, so that
Right.
they wouldn't
Yeah.
suffer the way that they did when
So
they
see,
got
there's
here.
that was the actual school.
Yeah, this one.
So the parents would actually enroll their children
No,
into
so they were
this?
forced.
They were forcefully.
to separate, but it became like huge because the families actually came together, and they ended up winning through court to not have this be enforced. So it was a huge victory for the Latino community to be able to overrule or you
Yeah.
know have this overturned to where they're not being forced to be Americanized in the sense,
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Like the whole story is super interesting. But yeah, I mean, when our parents came, definitely, I think that was such a huge thing of, okay, now we have to blend into this new country community. And that's probably what they wanted for us, to blend in as much as possible so that we wouldn't suffer discrimination or anything of that sort.
Exactly.
But thankfully, times are changing. And even though there's people that still don't see it that way, we're thankfully able to now go back to our roots. And if we have that opportunity, I think it's a beautiful thing, because it really gives you a sense of where you belong and who you are, instead of kind of, for me, that was a huge part. I felt like I had to really figure out what was it that I was supposed to be and where I fit in, just because I didn't have a big family. I didn't have a lot of exposure to like Mexican culture firsthand. And like he said, my parents came here like 16, 18, newlyweds. But my mom left her entire family behind. She's the only one here in the U.S. from 13 brothers and sisters.
Wow.
My dad's family, they're 9 siblings, but only 4 of them are here, 5 of them. And they're a lot older, so there isn't really that like cultural connection, And when I met him, his family is so big, and they still celebrate so much of where they came from, and they're all, every year we're gonna go to the rancho for the fiestas that they do every year.
They call it el 22. It lands on July 22nd of every year, and they have like a huge. It's like 3 days.
The whole town.
The whole towns, and then all the surrounding towns, small towns come together, and then everybody looks forward to. El 22. That's what we call it.
El 22.
And it's for
what are they celebrating?
So it's basically like their virgin. It's just La Magdalena, which is what the town is named after. So they celebrate her. These are like the fiestas to celebrate her. And it's such a big thing. And when I would hear his family, and just even, they live in Romolan. And I tell him, I'm like, your mom lives in the middle, and this side is your dad's side, and this side is your mom's side, because they all still live like mostly on the same street. So
basically, my mom, thankfully before my dad passed, my dad took care of the house. They purchased it in '86, and my dad worked so hard leading up to his passing to make sure that the house was paid, everything was taken care of. But we lived in the middle, like the same street. We lived in the middle, and then both of my grandmas, they lived 2 blocks away from the opposite sides.
Nice.
So I grew up there. I grew up in Romoland. I went to the same school from all the way through 8th grade, because that was in the middle of a transition. They were barely gonna do a middle school, so I got to go there like all the way to 8th grade, and but Romoland, it used to be a small town. Now everything expanding and growing. But Romoland, she'll tell you, man, it's like a little pueblito in Mexico, como La Magdalena or La Esperanza. I don't want to keep those 2 towns. They're very, very close. And for me, it's one of my grandpas was from La Esperanza, and then my grandma was from La Magdalena, and they were somewhat rival towns,
They were like the Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, there was even once my dad was a huge soccer fan. Yeah. So even they used to play. The only soccer league was in Riverside, and they used to drive all the way from Romoland, Paris, and everybody used to carpool back in the days. And when it used to be super small towns, And they used to go all the way to Riverside, and yeah, sure enough, there was La Magdalena and La Esperanza. And every time they played, dude, like, there were fights.
That's crazy.
There were fights, and it was always like back and forth. And me as a kid, dude, like, that I remember those memories fresh. And those are the best times that through soccer, we all used to get united, all my cousins, my older cousins too. And yeah. But anyways, so yeah.
So what he's saying, when I came into the picture, I would see all this. And I grew up not seeing that at all, not having that firsthand. And I was like, I want this for my girls. I want them to have a connection culturally with family. And like he said, it's still very, it almost feels like you're in Mexico. Like now that we've experienced it, you know, we really see that his family on both sides is very, it's still like you're living in Mexico. You know, you step outside and you see so-and-so walking by, or there's a little tiendita that everybody goes to. Like it's still a very close community to basically our traditions and where we come from. Recently, one of his nephews passed away very suddenly. And so Mikey.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Long live Mikey, man. He, young kid, you know.
Good kid.
Very good kid. And he was just very always smiling. You know, it's just, I'm not going to speak too much about what happened, but man, it hit hard. It hit hard.
Yeah.
You know, so this past, yesterday, Sunday, we, the whole family got together. They did a kermés. They did a huge fundraiser, and it was such a great turnout. Thankfully, you know, it's still hard, and my heart goes out to my cousin Maribel and Danny. Man, like it just sucks, you know. But
and having a daughter close to his age, it just really, like, I mean, it just puts so many things into perspective, and it could be any of us. You know, what happened to him could be any of us. And yesterday, you know, you had people that were working since like 5 a.m. until like 6 o'clock in the afternoon to raise funds to help them. And so many people came out. He was very loved, but also I think it's part of the community being involved and people being so tight and still respecting, you know, just how we were brought up. When somebody passes away, you're there for them no matter what. And yesterday was very beautiful. I kept on saying it. I'm like, it's so beautiful to see something like this, and it sucks why we're here in the first place. But you know, we go back to the same thing of honoring those that left us, keeping their memory alive. We actually, one of his cousins, Cindy, she took a lot of pictures throughout the day, and some of Mikey's friends had shirts with his picture on it and very beautiful artwork. So Mikey's mom was like, I want pictures with those shirts because they're so beautiful. So they took a few pictures and that was it. So then his cousin Cindy was looking through them, and you can actually see certain things in the pictures that were not there in previous pictures. And she flipped out. She's like, you guys have to see this. So she was showing us, and we were like, there's no sun, there's no lights, like, to have something like that, you know, kind of show itself. And she had experience with her dad that passed away as well. And she's like, I see it. You guys see it? I'm like, we see it. It's there. I mean, how do you explain something like that? And we go back to the same thing. So many people were there for him to show love, to show respect. Even people from his school, like administration, came out. People that were administration when we were in high school came out.
Yeah,
like, it was so crazy. I mean, so many people, and we know that he knew we were all there for him, that people worked so hard for him, and thankfully they greatly overpassed the goal that was needed for his services. And this was all thanks to the community. Wow. So this is the beautiful thing of still being part of just a community, a tight-knit community.
Yeah,
it was beautiful to see the whole community come together for this this occasion, and the car clubs too. Shout out to them. There was just so much going on, but everybody was just together, united, you know. And unfortunately, you know, it sucks that sometimes we gotta gather like that, you know.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen everybody united like that in such a long time. So, probably way before. Like before COVID, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've seen a lot of friends, childhood friends, you know. We were all there together for the special occasion that was for Mikey, and man, he was such a loving person, and it shows when the whole community comes like that.
Absolutely.
They raise thankfully God, they raised all the money that they needed.
Wow.
And beyond, you know what I mean? So,
and that was just on yesterday. That's not other things that people are doing to help. So we were just like blown away. But I mean, we were blown away, but we weren't surprised because we saw how many people were there and
it was packed.
Just showing support,
So that's why we got to talk to my cousin about it, and it's like, this is kind of why we do this as well, to honor everybody that has gone before us, and we're going to continue being there for our families and also somewhat for the ones that don't know, also educate them too, why it is that we do what we do.
Right.
And it's such a beautiful thing, that we enjoy sharing every little knowledge that we know. You know?
What's beautiful about it is that it's not, you guys are not just doing it because it looks cool or is part of your tradition. Like, you're doing it because you actually feel connected to doing this art form.
Very connected, and we don't do it for no trends. We don't do it for what's in, what's trending, what's hot. None of that, man. We do it. Try to do it the best way and the right way possible.
And I think that's the way to go, right? Like, why would you do something? Why would you do something that you don't feel connected, like that you don't want to do, or feel like you need to do it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's when you put your entire, like, embody your whole, outlook on life into your art form. That's when it becomes real art.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very trendy. Like, I mean, put the elephant in the room, let's talk about it.
I was going to say, I'm like,
it's very trendy.
Okay.
A lot of people do it. Everybody has their, like I said, their connection or the reasons why.
Yeah.
We have a very loyal fan base, I guess you can call it. We're very grateful for every single one of I personally only have Instagram, so I have TikTok, but I don't really use it.
Yeah, we both do, we try to stay active,
but at the same time, like I tell him, I'm like, I'm not gonna be out there creating content nonstop just to create content. Like, to me, I have to have a connection. I have to have, like,
to also, sorry, no mean to cut you, to also be very meaningful,
meaningful, have it meaningful.
Yeah. And even like the events that we've done, we're not gonna sit here and be like, everything we do is because of the culture. Like, we have been hired to do events, but we look at it and we're like, okay, what kind of event is it? Is it,
what's the purpose of the event, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what you think?
So, like, for example,
Definitely.
we were hired through Live Nation to do Dia de los Deftones.
Whoa.
So in San Diego last year. So for us, it was an honor to basically have them even acknowledge us and say, hey, can you come and be, technically a performer during this event? But what they stand for, what the lead singer Chino stands for, he's always pushing our culture, and you're talking about a mainstream kind of, way that they present their music, but at the same time, he's always using every opportunity to put our culture out there because he himself is, Mexican. So, that was a huge part for us. And of course, we were hired to do that. And we said, heck yeah, why not,
That's awesome.
But like, again, the events that we are involved in, we always do kind of question, like, what is the purpose? Like, is this something or is this is something that we're going to be proud to say we did? Or is this just something that, okay, we just got paid for it and that's it, know?
But I think, like, either way, even if, let's say, right, because we all know that we need to make money, right? And
Exactly.
but I think that, like, just having you both doing an event, like, it doesn't matter what it is, right? You're still going out and educating people. And I think, like you have the opportunity to educate people is what I'm trying to say. Because they can have anybody dress up as a Catrin, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we know, like we said, the elephant in the room. People do the Dia de los Muertos makeup because they think it's like the fastest thing to do, and things like that, like that people don't appreciate. But I think with you guys, it's like you embody it, you live it, you're well versed in it, in the history and in what you're doing. So I mean, I think it's amazing, that you guys do get to go out to do events and still be able to school someone if need be,
School
so
'em.
yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I think
Thank you
it's
for that.
great. I rather have you guys at every event than someone that just dressed up just to dress up
And
be there.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. Go.
There's people like that out there. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Really?
No comment. I'm like, I'm not,
Tag 'em.
I'm not gonna get
Just
into
kidding.
that.
I'm like, I'll comment because
All I gotta say is that some people get very territorial.
Oh, really?
I mean, it's
I
like
bet.
everything,
I bet.
and that's in anything in whatever aspect you look at it, there is. But we do want to acknowledge people. We're not going to sit here and be like, we're the first ones to do this. We're the innovators of this. We're, the only ones that do this, because there is a huge community out there that came before us. And I feel like they were never really given the proper credit for it. And we happen to just be very grateful to know them on a first-hand basis, and these are people that are artists. You're not talking about like, a person that just dresses up. Like, you're talking about people that create their wardrobe, they do their makeup, they live this, and we're lucky to have met so many of them, and they're truly like what has inspired us to keep this going, because a lot of times you kind of fear the whole. People have even said, "Oh, it's cultural appropriation." Like, how is that cultural appropriation if I'm Mexican
it's your
and
culture.
I'm from that region that celebrates?
Have you
this?
gotten that before?
I've gotten that a few
Really?
comments on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
Cultural appropriation. I'm like, okay, I just laugh at it. I'm like, I'm not even gonna answer to that.
Answer back in Spanish. Let's
Right.
Let's see how that happens. What
So
happens
what do you
then?
think?
Or
Yeah,
just send them to me.
There you go.
he's my biggest bodyguard.
Send them to Monster.
But
Send them to Monstro.
I mean, ultimately, it's a beautiful thing that this is spreading, that it's getting more awareness, and that, at the end of the day, I think we all do it because we love what it stands for.
Right.
So, I mean, we're not going to knock down somebody who, like, they just dress up. Maybe it's hard for them to. For me, makeup took years to even me feel confident to even post a picture of what I was doing. So there's people that maybe love it and they don't have the means to do it, or maybe they love it and they just don't even know where to start. But at the end of the day, for me personally, I've done makeup. I do kind of all kinds of makeup because I love it, and I'm somebody that likes to constantly learn to do new things.
We're still I call it student of the game, and we're learning along the way. But then again, we live so far from all these supplies and stores that we could get fabric, or we could get
easy access to
easy
things.
access. And we live in the Inland Empire. It's we have to travel to go get supplies, go get fabric, to go get anything that we need, and it's a little bit more difficult, since we live further. But I also just want to just say that everything that my wife wears, from wardrobe, crown, she creates.
I was gonna ask that. How your guys' wardrobe? Like, do you guys create it? You guys put it together? Like,
Yes.
what's your guys' inspirations for all that? Because I see you guys had like Kobe Bryant, right? Like the Lakers,
Yes.
and then there was like a
Whoa.
Raiders
Yeah.
one on there.
Oh, yeah, I seen the
Yeah.
Raiders one.
That's cool.
Yeah, all the
Thank
sports. I'm a man. I was a huge athlete as a kid and growing up, all through high school. I'm not gonna.
Those are our daughters, by the way.
Wow.
So sorry, babe. The whole concept of that shoot was because Kobe was a girl dad and he was so proud to be a girl dad. So that's the reason why our daughters are in that picture to honor that.
Wow.
Because
And I'm a girl dad.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Yeah.
So
proud girl dad.
and luckily our daughters, they want to be a part of this too.
That's awesome.
So we're like, hey, we're gonna honor Kobe, through our photo shoots or anything that we do. And the day that he passed, man, I was on the couch on that Sunday, and I couldn't believe what I was the biggest I'm the biggest Kobe fan growing up, you know.
Yeah.
Winning all the championships, and man, I was devastated. I cried, you know. I mean, I'm gonna admit,
of course.
I cried out of my moment, and it just, you know, and for him being a grow dad, man, it just hit different. I'm a grow dad, and I just felt like this is a perfect tribute for Kobe and his family, and everybody else that passed away.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Oh, that's the picture right there at
Yes, that was at
Dia de los
Petco Park.
Deftones.
Yeah,
Wow,
Their whole
that's
decor
cool.
was amazing. We
Yeah.
were in awe. We were like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, this is beautiful.
What was that like, getting that phone call or email to do that?
Man,
That must
I thought
have
it was
been
a joke.
crazy.
I am not even gonna kid.
Really?
Like, seriously, I got the email. I got a message on Instagram, and it was the girl dealing with the entertainment, the
Okay.
coordinator for entertainment, and she's like, "Hey, can I have your email?" And I'm like who asks that? You know, and it was like a
No
regular
offense, Jen.
profile. No offense, Jen. We love you. Call us.
Like, what do you want my email for?
And she's like it was a regular profile, and she's like, oh, it's because through my job we're looking for somebody to come and do an appearance. She was very brief and very discreet, and I'm like, okay. Like, I
Brief,
didn't take
discreet, very general,
very
broad.
discreet. And so I'm like, okay. So I just send my email, and then I get this huge email from her, and we were actually at our daughter's like Halloween event or their trunk or treat, you know. So I'm over there in line waiting for all these things, and then I'm reading the email, and she's like, oh, you know, we're having the event.
Oh, they're
for...
so loca. I'm sorry to cut
Yes.
you off.
Oh, she's amazing.
You know her?
We love her.
Claudia and Manny are.
Yes.
I'm big
They're
fans of them.
amazing.
I did their
So I
podcast a couple of months ago.
I did her makeup
Oh,
for
wow.
one of the
Oh,
shoots.
cool.
That
Oh, you
they
did?
had. Yeah.
Oh,
so
cool.
that's my makeup
Awesome.
on her. Huge inspiration. She's
Yeah,
also
they're
very
amazing.
creative. Yes.
Yes.
And their vibe is just, I walked out of there like, yes, we're going to conquer the world. She told me I could, so let's do it.
They're both they're such a
Amazing.
powerful couple, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And,
Absolutely.
and game recognized game, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and you guys as well, you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we
Thank
got
you.
to meet them, and man, it's we want to be around people like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Very
yes.
inspiring.
Very inspiring, and every time we go to San Diego, we're gonna stop by. You know? So,
We're always like, can we have tios and tias or cousins like that, you know, to where like, but it's funny because we feel like every person that we bump into like that, they say the same thing.
Yeah.
They're like, a lot of people in my family don't understand what I do. And we still get that. I mean, they see, I guess now, how we've evolved and the things we're involved in. But I feel like they still have that question of like, so what is it that you guys do?
Yeah,
Or
what is your family?
why
think
do
of
you
it?
do this? And, you know, unfortunately, there's still that stigma of like, you do this, you're worshiping death. There's still a lot of that.
El demonio.
Wow.
Yeah, and they still
Really?
view it as kind of like, you know, if we're, you know, worshiping death. And
Wow.
we're like, it's nothing, not even close, you know?
Nah, we
See, that's interesting because
Yeah.
I felt like, or at least for me and my family, like it that brings us solace, right? It makes us, like I said earlier, like it just makes you feel more connected with, you know, your loved ones that have passed. And I have never heard that people like felt like it was like demonic. That's
You
Yeah.
know,
but I could see it. I could see why.
I can see how
and,
that is.
you
Yeah.
know, religion too, right? Like
yes. So
Got it.
I think that's the next comment about that it really has to do with religion. So a lot
Yeah.
of people see death as, you know, you have to be respectful of it. You have to be like it's almost like you can't be happy around it. Not that anybody would be happy, but doing this, it's almost like, I feel like they see it as a bit inappropriate because they believe it should be in a whole different way because, you know, you go to church and it's like when you're at church, you got to be quiet, you got to be respectful.
Right.
So they kind of see this as a little bit, I kind of want to say disrespectful, but, you know, we make our arguments. We're like, look, I think it's the opposite. We're trying to really keep the memory alive. And even for my husband, it's been a process of like, okay, now it doesn't feel like such a tragic loss because, you know, we have his picture around all year long. We make him a part of things that we do. We talk about him like, oh, Byron would have loved this. He would have had such a good time, or he would have been the first one on the dance floor at this event. You know, little things like that he couldn't talk about them before. And when I met him, every time that it was the anniversary.
March 15th, I used to get sick.
I mean, physically sick, like fevers. Like in bed for no reason. And it was always like either the passing or on his birthday, like important dates for his dad.
Yeah, I used to get sick in bed for 2 or 3 days. And for the most part, I believe it was because I was keeping it inside. And not until I start, backtracking each step, where I was when I got the phone call. And little things like that. Once I started talking with my wife about
working through it. Yeah,
especially to her, I really opened up and I started talking about it every year. It has gotten better.
Mm-hmm.
It's never going to be the same, but it has gotten better. I went to work March 15th, and for the first time this year, I actually felt like, much better at peace,
Yeah.
I have my emotional days, don't get me wrong. A lot of people don't see it. They always see the me mugging face, or they see me behind the mask. But, we're human. And that's one thing about our culture that I feel like when it comes to anything emotional, we don't speak up. We don't
especially
talk to
men.
anybody.
Yeah, it's taught to be repressed.
Yes.
Right.
And my dad, when he was alive, he's like, he never showed any weakness. And my dad was in the dialysis for nine years, and my dad still kept his composure. He never showed anybody no weakness. My dad was not supposed to be working, and he was still working. And unfortunately, that's how he passed. He was working. He wasn't. I'm gonna share with you guys. My dad, le decían, no trabajes, stay at home. Nope. He still had to go work. That was his, he felt like that was his mission, just work. And to also teach me, hey, you have to work. You know what I mean? If you're not at school, you're working. If you're not playing sports, you're at work. And that's how I was every vacation since elementary, middle school. I wasn't lucky enough to be enjoying my summers at the pool. None of that. It just work. So leading up to my dad's passing, he unfortunately fell from a palm tree. He was working. Wow. He was on top of the palm tree and he was doing his thing, cutting it and everything. And nobody saw the fall. They just heard the fall, and instantly, they couldn't do anything. He died from the wounds.
Wow.
There at the scene, and I remember that day. I'm gonna speak on it. That day, I used to live in Moreno Valley at around that time, and I could have been the closest to go be there, But my dad was the type. He's like, no, the last 2 months he didn't want me around him for some reason, and I'm like, just whatever, But then later on, I heard it from one of his friends, and I guess he spoke to his friend after my dad passed. His friend, we used to call him Mendez. He used to have a rancho between Paris and Elsinore. He called me in, after my dad passed, and he sat me down. He's like, tu papá ya estaba hablando de unas cosas, and he didn't really want you around because I felt like he was already sensing it, He felt like he was already sensing something.
Yeah.
And but yeah, anyways, that day I was the furthest. I was in Vegas. I was barely arriving in Vegas when I got the call, and I'm like, why that day? That day I could have been there first in the scene, or I could have been helping him. But my dad was a type, like he always didn't show any weakness, and very machismo. So yeah. I don't want to get too more deep into it because then I might cry. But But yeah,
Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing.
thank you.
For
And
sharing
this
that
is,
with
I
us.
think, honestly, the first time he talks about it publicly. Because even for me, it took years before he told me what happened. And I'm not the type to be like, so what happened? You know, like I hate doing that. I don't like it when people do that. And it's just like one day he just opened up and shared this with me. And ironically, we were on our way to Vegas. So I think it was just like, that was the first trip where the fact that we were going to Vegas, he was reliving all these things and he was finally opening up to just talking about it. And I remember him saying, he's like, I didn't cry until I got to the hospital and I saw my mom. You know, you're talking about hours and hours later.
that day, I got a call. I got a call from my sister, and she's like, "Oh, my dad had an accident," and I was like, "Oh man." He already had a previous accident, and he lived through it. You know, he lived through it, and I'm in my mind, I was like, he's gonna be good. He's gonna bounce back. You know, but then they just told me stop what you're doing, and I was like, oh man, it seemed very serious, and in my mind, I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna believe it until I see it, right, or I see my mom, or so. Then my cousin Ricky, he called me, and he's the one that broke the news, and I was like, devastated, man. We sat down at the little bar. We were at the Luxor, and with my friend Aurelio, and we sat down at the bar, and we were like, man, I wanted to catch a flight, and we were trying to look up flights, and every flight to Ontario was going to be this happened around 3 and 4. I don't remember details, but it happened between 3 and 4. The flight was going to arrive in Ontario like around 8:30 if I took it from Vegas, and at that moment we made a quick decision, and my friend Aurelio, boom, he took off. We made it all the way to Moreno Valley in 3 hours.
Wow.
And that was, they were hauling ass. And I never I kept my composure. I didn't cry, nothing, and till this day he'll tell you how, like, man, he didn't cry. But as soon as I got to the hospital and I saw they were waiting for me, I just kept on calling my tia that I want to see my dad. And unfortunately, you know, they had to follow protocol, and they took him away. But my family was still waiting outside, and once I got to I'm getting there, you know, I'm arriving at the hospital, man. I saw my mom, and that's where everything just came out, you know. But it's something that I will never forget, and things are never going to be the same. But that's how my biggest not inspiration, but my biggest motive of why I do it is to honor my dad, you know. And my dad was the first in our family to pass. From the 10, there were 10 of them, you know.
Yeah,
aunts and uncles, and then on my mom's side, they're 10 total too. So my dad was the first one, you know, from both sides of the family, and I have never experienced anything like that, or you know, we didn't really know, you know, and it was a tragedy, and it was very devastating till this day, you know. I'm trying to write a song, and I can't. Trying to write lyrics, and I can't. Everything else is really easier for me to do, but I'm trying to get a song together for him, and I already have the instrumentals, and it's the right instrumental, but I can't put it into words, and it's been 11 years. So the only thing that I can encourage anybody that has dealt with anything like that, with tragedy, is to little by little, you know, start talking about it. Get therapy. I never did, and I might though. She's been encouraging me, you know, get some therapy, because it's still very hurtful, and deep down inside, I'm like, little by little, you know, like trying to get through. But the healing process, there's no time frame, you know. You know. So anyways, that's why I honor him every single day. And when we're out at events, you know, sometimes I have his picture, or he's just there. I know he's there, and I know he would have been proud at everything that that we do. You know what I mean? My dad was on the low key, very quiet, but he was watching everything we used to do, you know. And my dad wasn't the type to say, "Hey, I'm proud of you, mijo." Never, you know. He had other ways to demonstrate, you know, our love and affection. But I know for a fact that he would have been proud of everything that we have been doing and accomplishing as well too, you know.
Yeah, and continue to do.
Yeah, and his memory, my grandpa, my tío Jaime, Mikey, my little cousin too, everybody that has passed, you know, we're gonna continue honoring them and remembering all their special moments that we share, you know, here on earth. But one day we're all gonna meet again, and you know, till then, we're gonna continue doing what we're doing.
Good, awesome.
And thankfully, I have the biggest supporter by my side. You know, she's been there through everything. You know, and she's still here. But it's just amazing to find a partner in life. You know, your best friend that they're there through every little thing. And man, our communication, it's at a whole different level, and I encourage couples, man, have a strong communication and have a deep connection, because that's what we have. It's a connection so surreal, you know what I mean?
And I mean, we hear it from a lot of people that, you know, they're like, they kind of give up on finding the right partner, and like we can honestly say that we had given up too individually. Like we had been through situations that were like, I don't ever want to deal with that again, you know? I don't want to start over again. And we just, I don't know, it was God's will that we found each other. And I think we were more than anything on the same type of mindset of like, look, I'm not going to put up with this. And if you're serious, cool. If not, see you later, you know? And we actually met. Well, we went to high school. We were in high school together.
Yeah, how did you guys meet, by the way?
Tell them.
I'll tell you, but then he's gonna fix a few things.
Okay.
He loves to
He has
do
his own
that.
story.
So we went to high school together. I was class of 01. He was class of 03. And actually, he was a triathlete. That's where his name Monstro comes from, because he was a monster. So everybody's like, monster. And on the Monday announcements, they were like, oh, Miguel Romero broke the record for blah, blah, blah. Miguel Romero put Paris High School in first place for blah, blah, blah. And I was like, who the hell is Miguel Romero? Like, oh my God, like I'm so overhearing his name. And I looked him up in the yearbook and I was like, oh, okay. And then he would have gone viral at the time if it was a thing. I think it was like his junior year on the homecoming float. He dressed as Tarzan and he barely had anything covering himself. And it was like the talk. I wasn't in high school. Like at the time, I was already done. And I heard about it. Everybody's like, he was barely covering anything. And I mean, he had a great body, you know? So all the girls even some teachers I heard. I even heard some teachers were making comments of his look. But even then, like we never crossed paths. So I was like very involved with the dance team and the arts, and then he was like Mr., you know, super athlete. So we never crossed paths until 8 years ago. And I'm like, I don't even remember how we were on each other's Instagram. And I'm like, people don't remember, but back then you couldn't send a DM without a picture or something attached to it, something like that. So I attached like this picture of a dog eating a pizza. Like the dog is like in a pose with his pizza. And he used to post like a lot of things about hiking. So I was like, hey, how do you get to that hike? Because it's our local hike, but it's hidden. So I was like, hey, how do you even, like, where do you start, you know? And he's like, well, I'm going to go tomorrow if you want to join me. And even though I didn't know him, it felt like I knew him because I knew who he was and he knew who I was. From the get-go,
that's the way it felt. Like it was meant to be. And I'm like, man, we look back at it. I'm like, man, it was an instant hit. Even though, she'll let you know.
Even fun though. When we started our hike, he was like, I'm just gonna let you know, I'm not looking for anything serious. And I'm like, dude, we met like 5 minutes ago. Calm down. Like, it's not that serious. But I tell him, I'm like, I'm glad he did that because, like, you know, it established, like, don't look into it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I mean, not that
We're just
you
going
do,
on a hike.
but sometimes, like, but sometimes
hang
it's
out.
like, yeah, you never know.
Right.
But I wasn't in that mindset. And I mean, he let me know he was not in that mindset. I'm like, cool, because I'm not even trying to deal with nobody right now.
Mhm.
Needless to say, that was like, what, 3:30? We were talking probably till like 9:30. Even after our hike, we like stayed at the park.
The
we just
park lights
talking.
turned off. We were like in the dark. You know?
They almost locked the gate on us. They were still like, okay, we gotta go. But needless to say, a month later, he did ask me out. He asked my daughter for permission to date me.
Oh, okay.
That's nice.
And a month after that, we got engaged. And then 2 months after that, we got married on Halloween.
Yeah.
Wow.
We got married on Halloween. And then on Christmas Eve, we found out we were pregnant with our little one. So within 6 months, we met, we got engaged, we got married, and we're expecting a baby. And it, till this day, it feels like we've known each other forever.
Wow.
And that
A
was
very long time.
That was honestly God's will. Nothing. There's nothing that I can explain or think that had to do with us coming together, because it's been like nothing I've ever experienced before. I had given up. I went through a lot with my oldest daughter's dad, and that scarred me for life, you know. And I was like, never.
Till this day, she's my daughter. You know what I mean? I don't like saying she's my stepdaughter. I this is probably like the maybe fifth time I say it, but she's my daughter from the get-go. And I asked her about permission, you know, if I could date her mom, you know. And yeah, to this day, you know, I say I got 2 daughters, you know. I'm a girl dad, and my 16-year-old and my 6-year-old, you know. So I just want to throw it out there. She yeah, you know, she's mine, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And right now I'm in the middle of teaching her how to drive.
Oh, like
cool.
you do that. I cannot.
There we go.
My nerves cannot do that.
And for the very first time last week in the rain, she was like, "Can we go?" I'm like, "Let's go." And I kid you not,
Whoa.
she knows like how to drive. It's kind of scary, but
You're
nah.
like, how do you know how to drive?
She knows she got it. She's the smartest kid that I know. Her education level is like way beyond mine.
And it's all her. She just got accepted to middle college, where they
Nice.
graduate, you know, with their associate's degree
Oh.
as they're graduating high school.
Wow.
So, I mean,
Whoa.
this girl was like student of the year for her school. She got superintendent awards. I'm like,
That's cool.
I didn't even know they gave those kind of awards, you know?
Yeah, and then all these programs.
Thank you.
Thank you. And all these programs now that exist now that she's involved with the city as well. With
She's a city youth representative.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
That is nice.
So it's just I'm a big fan of her. You know, I'm a big fan of my wife and everything that she does. I'm just like wow, okay, like.
Well, I'm sure she sees both of you and the way that you guys are motivated and everything, and you know she has a great role models to look up to and
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
motivation. Yeah.
We try very hard. We try very hard to be there every little second that we can. Right after events, we got to get home to our daughters, you know, and spend quality time with them. And now as a dad, as a you know, as a husband, like I try to any little second, I'm like, I'm gonna spend it with you guys, you know,
Yeah.
at home.
It's that balance, dude.
Yeah, definitely. And when I'm not DJing on the weekends and I don't have anything going on, I'm staying home, and from the time we wake up to we go to sleep, I'm with them 24. Try to be there 24/7, and for sure, my little one, can you make me pancakes?
I'm like, who makes the best pancakes, mom or dad? Daddy. It's always daddy's pancakes.
Yeah, but that comes from my dad. My dad was a huge. He used to love dining in. He loves his pancakes. He actually worked.
Wow.
He actually worked at the first Farmer Boys.
Really?
In Paris. That's where it was.
Nice.
The first one was from Paris.
Is it really?
Yeah, in
Oh
Paris.
wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
And it used to be the 215 is still there, but it used to be like an intersection Now you have to go through Ramona. The building is still there, but now there's 2 additional
Newer locations.
Oh.
So my dad, when he was in high school, he wasn't working with in the fields. You know, he was working at. I remember him telling me I used to be working at Farmer Boys, and his thing was breakfast all the time.
Wow.
And I'm the morning person, and
He'll be like, let's go eat 11 o'clock. I want pancakes. I'm like, it's 11 o'clock. Like, it's not breakfast anymore.
I can eat
Breakfast
pancakes
is good
all day,
all
every day.
day.
Yeah. Right.
And I make some pretty darn good pancakes, man.
He
And,
does.
We don't believe you. You gotta taste it
I
first.
tried for myself.
and my pancakes and
Get
my
the mix ready, Amber.
Let's go.
We have a kitchen.
You know what? I'm not even going to lie. He cracked the recipe for the Cracker Barrel pancakes.
Really?
Like, to us, they were like our favorite ones. And he's like, I'm going to figure it out.
I haven't tried those yet. They're good.
They're
I
so
haven't.
good. To me, they're like the best. And I don't know how he did it, but he got it super close to her. Like, I don't know. It's been years since we've been to Cracker Barrel.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
that's how good he is with pancakes.
and also my salmon. My everybody loves my 2 daughters. They love the salmon, but I try to get her to eat salmon. You know.
But that's just me.
She
though.
has
like,
tried
I'm not
it.
good with seafood at all.
No?
No, I'm very particular about it. I'm like, I can only do lobster. Other than that,
There
Oh,
we
she's
go.
I don't know.
fancy. She's like,
Yeah.
only the fancy stuff.
Only lobster and
Yeah.
steak.
Only lobster.
But we've
The
been
golden
to-
fork.
Tell about Maestro.
Oh my gosh.
I took her on a date to Maestro's, if I'm saying it right. We went there, and she's like, all right, cool, this is cool. But then as soon as we left, she's like, man, we should have went to Red Lobster.
I mean, it was like $85 for like
Yeah.
2 tiny lobster tails, no sides. I was like, because you hear Maestros and it's like, oh, super fancy, top of the best, and then it's like, man, like no sides, like tiny lobster. Should have got a Red Lobster.
But it was a cool experience. You know,
It was.
that day
It
I
was
was
nice.
at the time I was working as a chauffeur /
Personal assistant.
personal assistant.
Oh.
You know, for a high profile. You know, not celebrity, but he owned a lot of businessman, and that day he let me. I'm like, hey man, he's take the car, and I took the Bentley, and I was like,
Oh, wow. All right.
So we were fancy that day.
we were fancy.
Yeah, you're
Red
feeling
Lobster.
it.
We're like, this probably not ever gonna happen again.
You're feeling it.
You know, so we're like, he let us. He made the reservations in Newport, and I'm like, at the time, I'm like, hopefully I get to see Kobe. You know. But yeah, we went, and it was an amazing experience. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But we're like, man, we should have got tacos.
They're a little hungry.
The taco shop.
Pull up at the taco pop up in a Bentley.
Real. Yeah. So yeah, you know, we're not fancy like that. You know,
Yeah.
just try to stay humble and you know, we're like, man, we're cool. We're plain and simple. Get us tacos, get us some tequila. We're good.
We're
you know?
good. Yeah.
So yeah, so what else do you guys, I mean, I know this is you guys and this is your life, but who are you guys out, like, what else do you guys do?
Yeah, you're an artist. You're a girl dad, dude. And you DJ on the weekends.
Yeah, I've been DJing for about close to 20 years.
Wow.
Straight out of high school, I started. I first started with one of my friends. He had the equipment, and he's like, "Can I borrow it?" I see he used to practice, but he didn't really did gigs. So I'm like, "Hey, can I borrow it?" And I started off doing my first gig, charging $50 the whole night.
Wow.
And yeah, that's how I started, and I started seeing a little bit of. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the process. I'm a huge when it comes to music. Music is my passion to a T. Sports, music, you name it. I love hip hop. That's what I listen to when they're not around. I still listen to my old school hip hop and but yeah, I just as soon as I got a little bit of taste of the DJs at the time, it was converting to digital, and as soon as I started, it was CDs. I started with CDs, had all them stacks of the CDs. That's how I started. Which from that moment I enjoyed it, and I haven't stopped. And now I do small. I treat every event the same, whether it's big or small, whether I'm DJing at Dodger Stadium, you know,
Oh, nice.
or a backyard boogie in the hood. Like you'll see me everywhere, you know, like big or small, man. I treat it all the same, and I just enjoy the how I'm a crowd pleaser, man. Yeah. And really quick, let me touch on it. I used to hate getting on the microphone. I hate it. I used to get nervous. And when she came into the picture, man, she's like, you got to get on the microphone. You got to be able to do both.
I used to do his announcements.
Really?
He's like, you have to do them.
I used to be like,
can't do them. You have to do them.
come with me, but it got to a point that she was super pregnant with the youngest one, and she's like, I can't go no more, and I got mad.
Oh, he was upset. He was really mad at me.
I got mad, but not.
Can you do it on the phone? Can we bring you on the phone?
Like via Zoom.
I really want a pre-recorder, you know, and put it on there. But man,
Little soundboard button of just her.
Yeah, like now introducing, like. But yeah, I definitely because of her, like I stepped up my game and I had to know both. And you're more valuable once you know DJing. The DJing I could do with my eyes closed all day, every day. But then getting on the microphone, doing the announcements, doing the formalities, and man, it was a lot of work. But finally, I felt like I mastered it, like after such a long time, and it's going really well. I'm very established, you know, in my community, and I enjoy it. So that's the DJ part. But my whole entire life, we grew up, you know, I come from a family of landscapers, I guess, or gardeners. And back then as a kid, I used to hate it. I hate it. But now it's funny because now I that's what I do now as a living. That's what I do. And I am proud. I'm proud to say that that's what I do. I'm a gardener. You know, gardener / DJ /
Tell him a gardener
artist.
for what kind of corporation or organization?
Oh, well, I work for the city, you know.
Oh, nice.
I work for the city of Paris. I'm going to put it out there. Work for the city of Paris now. And I got very fortunate to get this job. And, man, I was trying really hard and everything lined up. Not just for parks, but maintenance. And I was like, dude, this is my cup of tea.
Yeah.
It's crazy how things just align. Like, you know, God had a plan. And I'm like, man, why didn't I join when I straight out of high school? You know, could have been with the union and could have, you know, but thankfully that didn't happen because when I was young, I was a little wild. A little wild. I'm the wild child, you know.
There.
So I used to party, man. I was DJing, I was partying, and I'm like, it feels good to get paid at these events and then to make appearances at these parties, you know. That's the way I looked at it. But man, I was partying. I partied all through my 20s, man. I partied and I did everything I think every youngster should do, you know, before you take those big...
Gotta experience life just a little bit.
Oh, yeah. But
or maybe a lot of it.
It was a lot of it. A lot of drinking involved and a lot of girls.
There you go.
But anyways, that's in the past, you know. But I developed that skill, you know, and that I'm still applying now.
That's cool, man.
From my work ethic, from DJing, from working for the city, and also not just for the city, but I was fortunate enough to I get the baseball fields ready.
Wow,
So
that's cool.
I get the whole city of Paris. Like, if there's a baseball park, you might see me over there with the bunker. There's a machine called the bunker rake. This is a I do everything with the bunker rake. Before I got this John Deere machine, man, we were doing it the hard way. And yeah, we're doing it the hard way now. Fortunately, I had the honors to estrenarla. Like, hey, here you go.
First one hands-on.
Whoa.
Hands-on, and I think I'm the only one that's been on it. I'm the guy now to, hey, go drag the fields. And I'm over there, cool. And I take pride. I take pride in the city, working for the city, because I am part of the community and I live there too, you know. And I take pride, man. I'm a hard worker. For those that see me out there, just say what's up. But it's very rewarding. I treat it like my kids are gonna play in the field, so I leave it like I work on detail. Some people might think I'm a little crazy because I'm like, man, he focuses so much, but it's very rewarding. The season just started. The baseball season just started this past Saturday, and prior to that, it was gonna be postponed again, but. Man, 2 days I was going at it, and it was a lake. It was a lake.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so much mud from the rain and everything, and we made it happen. But not just me, but also the guys that I work with. You know, it's just team effort.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy how like God has had this plan, and coming from a sports background and then landscaping, and I'm like, boom, and now I'm doing it for the city I live in. It's to me, it's like. Whoa, man. It's
perfect. Yeah.
I got to pinch myself sometimes. I'm like, this is really happening.
And I tell him, like, this is what your dad prepared you for. Like, and he, like, what he hated as a kid, he's like, even in the summer. And I'm like, look now where you're working for a great place doing what you know how to do best.
Yeah.
And thankfully, like, my dad taught me how to work. You know what I mean? That's one thing that he didn't teach me how to pick up a book or, hey, don't get credit cards or don't, you know, save your money. He might say save your money, but it was very the funds were never there. There was nothing to save because we were barely getting by, you know. But thankfully, my dad, you know, he paid off the house, man, and that's one thing that was like, man, he made sure he paid off the house, you know, and those are the things that I'm gonna take to the grave, man. Like I'm very thankful to this day. Every day, I'm grateful, you know, that he taught me how to have a strong work ethic and hustle. Never, you know, if you have to sell elotes on the streets, like from the bottom, anything. And one thing I'm gonna share too, man. My dad, I used to wake up super early with them to go on Sundays, not to go to church, but to go get the fields ready, the soccer fields in Riverside. He used to be ref. He was so involved in soccer, whether it's reffing,
that's
coaching.
Cool.
And every time like I'm there, he's like, no te sientes, ve recoge los botes. So he had me pick recycling cans, and I could say I'm proud of that, man, because those are the little things in life that that taught me how to you know, hey, how to become a man, and collecting cans, cutting grass. You know, if you guys do it, man, be proud of every little thing that you do. And
or
now,
even when you're that young, you don't know the significance, like in the moment up until like you're in your adulthood.
Yeah.
You don't know how significant and how much that teaches you in, you know, your everyday adult life.
Yeah, definitely. And those are the little things that, man, I'm, like I said, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I'm grateful. You know what I mean? I thank God. God had a huge role in it too, you know? I grew up a Catholic, and thankfully I got baptized in the same church. I did my first communion in the same church, and I told her after we got married in Vegas, she thought that was it, and I'm like, nah, we were gonna go get married through church too, you know. And yeah, we got.
You got two weddings.
We got two weddings.
Yes, we got two weddings, and I wish we could invite you guys for the big wedding, man.
It was quite a wedding.
Yeah,
we went all out.
Nice.
And we brought
Mexican fiesta theme.
We brought Mexico. Yes. We brought Michoacan to our wedding.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Awesome.
And
we incorporated like the torito. They danced.
Wow.
So we brought that.
Oh, that's
brought
cool.
Little
and
traditions.
It wasn't just a wedding. It was like an event. It was from 3 till midnight, and it was just nonstop entertainment. Mariachi.
That's cool.
We had banda. We had DJ.
Wow.
And it was just one thing after another.
All right, you guys have to get married again.
In 2 years, we'll probably do a vow renewal.
There we go. That's what it's called.
So from our first wedding, we celebrate too. You know, we celebrate May 12th, and then also Halloween. Maybe for our 10th, we'll do it again, or you know. I'm down to do it. You know, I work very hard, and I'm like, let's
you know how to contact us, so
yeah. we were supposed to have a banda for our oldest for quinceañera, and it was so around
COVID
kicked in, but we didn't get the banda, but we still got the deposit, you know.
They owe us an hour of entertainment.
There we go.
Yeah, so we kind of go big, and especially, you know, we celebrate now, you know, and yeah, that's why we work hard, you know, like, so, but anyways, just very thankful now in the position and the place that I'm at now. It's like I'm at peace. I found my soulmate, and it's beyond that. It's like the connection is so surreal. I can't even explain it. And yeah, man, so from DJing, from Day of the Dead, from landscaping, and pretty soon you guys might hear some music out, you know.
All right.
Yeah, I'm a huge
Nice.
rap fan. That is like, I used to do it back in the days, and unfortunately I got back in the studio, and I got some stuff that's
Nice.
yeah, there's gonna be some stuff coming out.
Okay.
And solo, because back in the days it was with our rap crew, you know. So my cousin's still around. My other friend Adrian, he's still around, you know. I think he's here in Chino somewhere.
Okay.
But yeah, I took it. I'm like, I'm gonna do my solo projects.
That's
and,
cool.
And you know, I love rap, man. And I wish I could sing, but I just don't know. I don't think I have the voice. but yeah, I get down on the microphone sometimes, you know.
There you go. You got down on the microphone right now.
I get down on the microphone, you know.
See, you came in and you were really nervous, and now.
Oh man, I would.
We're gonna have to like peel him off of the microphone at the end of this.
Man, now I'm like, hey, there you go, Gill. No, once I get comfortable, man, I'm
That's
like,
good.
man. She's like, I can't get in. Shut up. but I was very nervous in the beginning with the mask too, and I was sweating. My eyes were like drenched in sweat. So, but now I feel
man.
comfortable.
And we
I'm
took
like,
foره to
shit.
say.
Yeah, I know.
No.
He was just like
I'm like-
sitting right there.
I know.
Hurry the fuck up and press record.
No, not even. I was nervous, man. It's our first one,
How
you know.
funny.
We're popping the cherry, you know.
But you guys did great.
Thank you.
And you every day your life you do your art, you make these pieces, you're a girl mom, like
Yes.
who are you, like what do you do?
So I have a huge background in Spanish interpreting. That's what I did for a very long time. But my thing has always been the craftiness, the arts. That's my biggest passion. When we got married and we had our little one, unfortunately, she's had a lot of health issues. Now that she's in that became just basically my focus, and I'm very proud of him, to have him as my partner, because he was like, take care of all that. I'll focus on working. I didn't have that pressure. So I'm lucky enough to be able to, till this day, stay home and deal with a lot of things that we have to deal with her. I try to focus, as much as I love to do this, my main focus is our girls, their health, their education. It's something that both of us also, neither one of us really had that, I don't want to say the support, but the involvement from our parents, guidance.
Okay.
So for us, it's just, we see the potential in our daughters. Our little one has difficulty with learning as well. And the schools are great. I mean, they do an amazing job, but I truly believe that that's only half of the work. You got to do the other half of the work at home. So I've involved myself, every inch of myself, to devoting to our girls, being there for the oldest one who's thriving, being there for the little one, and getting involved in every aspect, meetings. I mean, I've had meetings where I've gotten involved anywhere from nurses to administration from the district, just to make sure
Eyepiece.
she gets, the services that she's entitled to and that they're done correctly, That's my biggest passion. It really has become, I was planning to go back to school, and unfortunately other things came up with her, with the school system, that I'm like, I still see the need of being involved. And I tell them, I'm like, I'm sorry if I'm a pain in the butt parent, but I'm going to be involved in every aspect.
But I'm very very grateful that she's able to do all that too, while I work. Man, God put the right person next to me, and I'm not gonna stop bragging about it or telling the world about it. You know, like, man, it's I'm very lucky to have her. Especially she does all, you know, a lot of behind the scenes, you know, but that she's able to be there also as a second teacher, as a mother, as anything that you want to call it, you know,
as a nurse, you know, even for him, like I help him a lot with like aspects of like, you know, thankfully his business is thriving to where he has to have contracts done. So I'm always like the one behind the scenes doing all kinds of things because he's always working. So we're thankful enough that we are able to have that dynamic to where he takes care of a certain aspect, I do the other. And
they say 50-50, but nah, for me, it's like for her, well, okay, let me rewind. It's about like 85 her and 15 me, you know, or some days like I give her so much credit, man. Like I'm very happy that she's able to do what she does, you know. So that's why I'm always gonna give her more credit than you know. She deserves, you know, she deserves the world, you know. And I'm very happy that she's able to be there as a second teacher too, you know. And I'm not able to do certain things that she does, you know. And also our oldest, she helps out a lot, tremendously, you know, being there as an example for our little one, you know. She's definitely the oldest, but she's also like a role model too for our little one. So I'm just truly blessed. That's all I gotta say, that she's able to do that.
And, you know, I feel like thankfully I have this to where I'm like, this is for me. Like when I do Catrinas, when I do makeup, that I really enjoy that because it's for me. It's something that I love to do. But, you know, I there's such a huge misconception of like, oh, you're a stay-at-home mom. Oh, you don't work. Yeah. Like this is a 120-hour a week type of job.
Every second.
Yeah, absolutely.
No sleep, no pay. You know, kids are sick. You know, there's just so much going on. So a lot of like stay-at-home moms, it's like
it's harder, I think, to be a stay-at-home mom.
I mean,
than going out and working.
I feel like a lot of women, they're underrated. You know, still, you know, even in this world that we live in, and in 2023, I feel like they're very underrated, and you know, they deserve their roses. They deserve their crowns, you know. And that's why I spoil them as much as I could, you know, having all these extra gigs or side hustles. I'm like, hey, let's go eat. I love my frijoles con queso. Very simple. Frijoles, tortilla. But I'm like, hey, let's go get some steak. Let's go get something.
Sushi is he's like, let's go out to eat. Oh, let's go have sushi. But that's because that's his favorite.
we spoil ourselves because
that's good. You have to.
Growing up, man, we you know, we grew up poor, you know, low income communities that we don't have much besides a roof over our heads if you're lucky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I grew up, and I'm not ashamed to say it, man. I grew up with roaches on my cereal, man, like that. I had to like pick out like you know, and I grew up like that from the bottom. And I know this is not it for us. We're gonna continue striving, not just for us, but for our kids, and leave something behind. You know, leave some kind of. Hopefully, they grab to something that we do. You know, and just continue just doing what we're doing. But also, you know, I grew up in a huge family, but there wasn't a lot of role models, you know. And me being the oldest in my family, man, I didn't have nobody to look up to. I had my two cousins, Fernando and Ricky, and I'm thankful that they were part of my life because they were older than me, but I was always hanging out with them. And man, we weren't getting into trouble, but we were out there, you know, doing our thing.
Yeah.
But they were like my big brothers, you know. And then I have the other ones too. Becky, what's up? I told her yesterday.
That's his boo.
I got to see them all in one place, and unfortunately, we're missing one. My childhood best friend that we grew up playing sports and doing everything together, leading up to high school. Jose, we call him AKA Tweaker. Yeah, but he wasn't like that. I still don't look at him like that, man. I get these random I get these random calls or he FaceTimes me from from prison. Don't get in trouble, but
Wow.
that we still try to stay connected like that. But I include everybody, every single one, and yesterday it sucks the situation that we all had to come together like that. I was happy to see them, but it's been since before COVID, since we all saw each other together, you know what I mean? And man, it's I don't know how to say it, man. Like it's just very to see them grow too, coming from where we grew up. We didn't grow up in LA, but there, everywhere you go, there is a ghetto, low income community, and we didn't have everything, all the sources that other kids had. We had to work for what we wanted, and we had to go at the extra mile to get what we wanted, and we all made. I felt like we all made it. You know what I mean? To everybody, my cousin, he works for the city. My other cousin started working for the city of Riverside, and I just love seeing their growth from coming from the bottom, and not to mention everybody else. And hopefully my younger cousins, they could hopefully they could come to me for advice or just to talk to, so I just try to be there for the youth as well, for my little cousins, so but it's just amazing to see everybody growth, they're along the way.
Yeah, and I think you showing gratitude towards your family and towards the community, it speaks volume, because you're not just doing it for yourself, you're also doing it for your family too, and that's awesome. Like you guys are just grinding every day in your everyday life, but also you have this art form that you're sharing with the community and then with us and now the world. And I appreciate you guys coming on and sharing. Sharing that.
It's an honor.
It's an honor, And like I said, this is the first one of many.
First one of many. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Many, because I know, there's gonna be other opportunities.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And like I said,
make
bigger,
those,
bigger,
make
small,
them.
Make sure you guys book us. Nice. No, we're always gonna show love back to the community and to the ones that always been there, and
absolutely,
whatever scale it is, the only way is up. I tell everybody, hey, we were so low, we come from the bottom. The only way is up,
Absolutely, I get that. Yeah,
stop being a little shrimp, become a shark, and let's go, But let's all go together. That's what I tell everybody. Let's all do this. You know what I mean? And try to get everybody involved. And we're gonna be working on some film. We don't do a lot of videos, but we're gonna start working on more content, but also sharing our stories and a little more into depth. And we're gonna link up with one of my friends, childhood friend too, that he's graduating from the LA film school.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
So
shout out to Lito.
Shout out to Lalito. I call him Lalito. It's Eduardo.
High school friend. Well, childhood friend, high school friend.
Yes, Lalito, and he wants to get more involved in a little bit more projects.
Okay.
So there's a lot to come. If you guys think you saw it all, we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I have so many ideas and that we want to put more stuff out there, especially we come from Michoacan. My parents come from Michoacan, so there's still a lot of history in Michoacan that still doesn't really get too much shared out there. There's other cities that do, and they get the spotlight, but we want to bring a little bit more of our roots, and our ancestors. And like I said, everything that we do to honor them, but also there's some projects, man. You guys are going to see.
We're excited.
I'm excited. I'm not gonna.
I'm excited.
I'm not gonna.
I'm not even doing it, and I'm all giddy over here.
I'm not gonna share too much, man. But there's things that just look out.
Amber, you think you can help me out with the outro?
Where we at? I don't even know what time.
Oh, there we go.
right,
Go
so-
ahead and show us or share us where we can find you guys and any upcoming shows.
So our pages are, for him, it's Catrin El Monstro, and on Instagram and also on TikTok. And I think we're seeing some of his profile there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's mine, Catrin El Monstro. You guys could check it out. For all the newbies, check it out. We've been doing it for a cool minute. There's still more projects and things coming out.
And on mine, you can find me under Belleza Tarasca. And you'll see all of my work. A lot of my stuff is on there. My creations, my wardrobe, makeup, clients that I have been privileged to work with. We have an awesome event coming up with Viclazos on June 10th and 11th in Long Beach. So you guys can check them out on our page, their page. It's going to be an amazing event for an amazing cause. So make sure to purchase your tickets and join us. We're both going to be there both days, along with other many talented people. So
Shout out to Malo.
Malo, yes. And that is my glam makeup page. It's Lavish Makeup by D. That is my more beauty glam makeup. I had to separate both because it got a little confusing for clients, you know?
Yeah, we have 2 pages. You guys also check me out at DJ Monster Entertainment. That's more my DJing and my music page. But also really quick, I'm also going to be doing we're going to be doing an event with Cruising Through the Lenses. They're a group of photographers that get together and
The Mindbuzz. Continue that.
oh yeah, really quick. Yeah, it's gonna be May 20th. It's gonna be in the city of Moreno Valley. Yeah, city of Moreno Valley. Just check out our pages for more information. If you guys want to come and show your support, let's go. Let's do it.
Cool. Thanks, guys, for being here. I
Thank you,
appreciate
guys.
it. Peace and love. See you guys on the next one.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, guys.